In the words of Kamala Harris, repeating Joseph Biden, democracy has a price, and the cost of democracy is what I am inspired to speak to today. Hi folks, I hope this video finds you well, and to begin with, what is a democracy, and does it have good standing in a republic under law, with that law being the unmolested Constitution of these United States, part of the three Americas, with the most northern chiseled out slowly, in the season of dew, painstakingly by brave men and women that wanted more, yea living and breathing pioneers that could not rest until they saw what was on the other side of the hill or mountain, with that Constitution being a unanimous declaration agreed upon by 13 colonies having become states, whereupon a new expression was battle-bred and breathed by those strong enough and dedicated enough to risk life and limb, yea to begin another chapter which united under one banner a people with certain resolve and dedication, a people ready to throw off the chains of their present government which was throttling their spirit, a spirit rambunctious unable to sit still, with that passion hardly found in most assemblies. And they rallied together in order to throw off the chains of a regime which was strangling them, a people being throttled by a royal monarch, whereas their courage would provide to them a new guard dressed in constitutional parchment, adorned with seams and buttons of oak gall ink, also known as iron gall ink, as to attend their muskets, for to ensure their future security. My friends, what is a democracy? And before giving you the Funk and Wagnall's rendition or version, I will give you a down-to-earth example. A man robbed a bank, and while making his getaway he rode east out of town, and was soon overtaken by a gathered posse of town folks which also happened to be depositors, in the said same bank that was robbed earlier. The posse was a group of rough riders dedicated, whose number reached 25 in total, 24 residents and their sheriff. The 24 townies wanted to hang the thief on the spot, but the sheriff objected, saying that the robber would be taken back to town where he would be tried by a jury of his peers, allowing the chips to fall where they may. Long story short, the 24 would-be hangmen were Democrats and the sheriff was a Republican. You see folks, democracy is demo meaning mob, and ocracy meaning rule, hence democracy is mob rule, and then there is a republic, with re, in republic not being a prefix, but the stem of the Latin word res, res, meaning thing or matter, hence republic means the thing or matter of the public, or people, with that thing or matter being an agreed upon set of rules called a constitution, and here is something from the said same constitution which sticks out like a sore thumb. Article 4. Section 4, in part, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion. Whoa horse, folks, what I just read to you is still the law, and our leaders swore to uphold that law, yea the law of the land, and it came from the horse's mouth, with that filly being the Constitution of the United States, with George Walker Bush saying, "It's just a goddamned piece of paper," and he still walks around today breathing free air. The word democracy is defined as control of an organization or group by the majority of its members, and in some circles is referred to as a multi-party democracy. Side note, the democracy rigged up in this country is a for-profit riggin', and the Republicans are no better, as they are part of the same for-profit gadgetry. Folks, a republic is defined as a state in which supreme power is held by the people and their elected representatives, which has an elected or nominated president rather than a monarch. I ask you, in that definition of a republic, did you hear the word constitution, nestled up next to the word supreme power? Nay, and that is why I added the word unmolested earlier. My friends, our system of rule has been trampled upon and trounced, and dare I say it has been generationally warped by certain hampering, and what we have today riding roughshod over the seed of those who found this land are invaders and impostors, and please know this country was not begun in the 1700s, but in the 1600s. For example, take New Hampshire, founded with 500 men, 22 women and some children, indentured for 5 years. Led by a Puritan preacher in the upper plantation, eventually becoming New Hampshire, with those people coming from England, or at times called England, as well those also having come from England, settled in what was called on paper then, the lower plantation later becoming Massachusetts, and those dual plantations were plantations of people, with New Hampshire being founded by my great-grandfather, 22 generations removed, who built the first roads, bridges and the first schoolhouse in this great state in which I reside, with fishing and trapping being the first two industries, and those dealing the cards today are not related to those who began this country, the same whom by musket and ball began to dictate their own futures, in 1632, and those finding their way here later were a dark brood born of evil, yea with the same being a dank and rank bunch of unelected unsuitable characters, all being filthy rich, be they Republican or Democrat. Leaning, so says our holy book, yea none are righteous, no not one. Folks, God saw to it that ancient Israel was a republican form of government, made up of elected people within their neighborhoods, villages, and communities. Exodus chapter 18 and verse 21 and 22. Moreover thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them, to be rulers of thousands, and rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens, and let them judge the people at all seasons, and it shall be, that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge, so shall it be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee. As well in verse 25, of the same chapter in the book of Exodus we read, and Moses chose able men out of all Israel, and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. You see folks, our Father was against one-man rule, as in a monarchy or rule engaged by one man, as in a dictatorship. Folks, moreover we read of other elections which took place among the tribes of Israel, found in Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 13. Take you wise men, and understanding, and known among your tribes, and I will make them rulers over you. Folks, before this time, this was the practice, as stated in Judges chapter 21 and verse 25. In those days there was no king in Israel, every man did that which was right in his own eyes. Yea, to call biblical Israel a theocracy is a misnomer, as Israel was only as much a theocracy as the people of Israel chose to follow God. As Israel's history reveals, they did not always choose to follow the law of our paterfamiliar given through Moses, with the same being true today for whether a nation chooses to follow God or man. I ask you, did Israel have a constitution? Yes, they did, and here is that constitution, or the law of the land if you will. Exodus chapter 20 and verses 1 through 17, and I think that you will recognize right away these laws set forth by the Lord of Lords, and the King over all. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I the Lord thy God am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and shewing mercy unto thousands of them that love me, and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day, to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor, and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates, for in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day, wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Yes, my friends, we know these sayings as the 10 Commandments, and we need not go down the list, for we know which laws mankind breaks every day. Exodus chapter 24 and verses 7 through 8. And he took the book of the covenant, and read in the audience of the people, and they said, All that the Lord hath said will we do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood, and sprinkled it on the people, and said, Behold the blood of the covenant, which the Lord hath made with you concerning all these words. Yes, my so beloved familiars here, they were bound unto that oath by blood. You see, folks, the nation of Israel received its constitution, law, and rights all wrapped up in the God-given law of Moses, from God's mouth to the people's ear. The law defined the limits of its government and the liberty of the people. God's law to Moses commanded such noble concepts such as, You shall love your neighbor as yourself, and, You shall not harden your heart nor shut your hand from your poor brother. Folks, have you seen, by law, those who have had their hands shut, as in it being illegal to feed the homeless, as here on YouTube there is video after video of the kind that walk among us feeding the homeless, and for their gallant efforts merging out of fellow feeling, these kind-hearted compassionates are arrested, and that is a disgrace, and is shameful, but those without the Spirit of God in them harbor no shame, as they are, as the book says, they are soulless, yea spiritless are they that would condemn generosity, compassion, and obedience unto their God Almighty. Israel's God-given government focused more on justice and governing than on legislation, because God gave the law. Israel's Senate was to make decisions and judgments by applying God's law. Ancient Israel was a republic established upon justice as a judicial theonomy, which is a nation governed by God's law that established just courts for all the people. Only in justice is there freedom for a nation where the government does not regulate the people, but the people regulate the government and one another in the courts. Did you hear that, my friends? And I do believe this is worth a second listen, and needs to be hearkened to in these states united. Only in justice is there freedom for a nation whereas the government does not regulate the people, but the people regulate the government. In closing, my friends, how can Christians encourage and restore a true and free republic today? Men of God can move into positions of influence and teach people to return to God and His Word as the basis of moral living, and in a perfect world that would and could happen, but given the anti-God climate, atmosphere, and sentiment, the people do not want God reigning, nor His Son consulted with, hence we are in a dreary position. Moreover, God instructs Christians to pray for all in authority, for God wants everyone saved, as stated in 1 Timothy chapter 2 and verses 1 through 4. I exhort therefore, that, first of all, supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks, be made for all men, for kings, and for all that are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. For this is good and acceptable in the sight of God our Saviour, who will have all men to be saved, and to come unto the knowledge of the truth. Oh, if that were only possible, folks, and it's not a case of God not being willing, it's a clear case of mankind not being able, and on that note, be well, stay strong, and I thank you so much for listening, my friends.